Hello, welcome to NX After Dark. And right now it is definitely after dark in Denmark. It's past midnight, but it's Friday night, so we're going to have some more fun. We are going to work on the Energy Insights app, Angular app, again. And as a reminder, see if I can find it. Here, we're going to be visualizing the forecast of the CO2 emissions in the Danish electricity grid. And let's see what it looks like right now. So all through the night, it will be very low CO2 emission levels. It's well below 80 grams per kilowatt hour. So that's great. There will be about 50% wind energy, or there was within the past hour. It's definitely not the sun, I can tell you that. So let's get back to the app. We have in this branch here, we have one app project, we have a library project, a data access library for CO2. And we're working on these two services. There's the CO2 forecast store, which is a component store, or it's at least using NgRx component store. And we're working on this CO2 emission prognosis HTTP, which is named after this data set on the energy data service, the API we're using, which is public. But we left some to-dos here. We're missing a where clause. So we need to filter, and to filter we need some parameters because we're working with time series. So we should be selecting a slice of the time series, like a from and a to part. So what would that look like? Let's just go to the store. Yeah, there I created this query filter. Maybe I can make that more reusable. We're going to need it in more than one place, right? Yeah, probably. Where am I using it here? Down here. But I'm not really using it yet. Okay. Let's put it here. Date. Filter. What's the name? Naming is hard, right? Date. Range. Query. Date query. Yeah. Let's call it the date query. We will put it into this file, export it, and then we're using it here. So import it, and now we can rename it. Date query. Okay, that's good. So now we can start to reuse this data structure. So let's, changed in this log file. A lot, apparently. Yeah, I was running pnpm install log dependencies before I started this stream on this branch. So it should be right. Let's see here. Extract date query. That's a refactor commit, following the conventional commits format for the commits. And now here in this get method on our HTTP client, we can have, let's see. Well, we actually need, well, first of all, we need the date filter. So let's put that in here. It's called now. Yeah, date query. Okay. Now we can filter, and we're filtering on this, or sorry, this column. So it would be, this is a Postgres SQL query. So it's very similar to standard ANSI SQL, where minutes 5 UTC is after, so that would be, I'm trying to think here, I'm not doing a lot of SQL these days. It's after, here we put in our, it should be probably like so, it's a date times string. So the from, and then to ISO string will give us a ISO date time string and the formats we've been using for our test data. and minutes 5 UTC is less than 2. Yeah, this should be, it seems right. There is one more thing, like, so we have this price area. Because we can select a specific one. There is the 2 to select from, DK1, which is Western Denmark, and DK2, which is Eastern Denmark, with Copenhagen and Zealand. Let's just get all of it, or what? Yeah, we can add that clause later if we need it. Like maybe we'll display maybe one chart with 2 lines in them, but I think they will be very similar, or actually I think I know. No, maybe not for this forecast. Yeah, there is something about the DK1 and DK2 errors in this data set, or at least in some of the CO2 data sets. They are actually the same right now, so it's not split into DK1, DK2. The values will be exactly the same, so it's rather the whole DK control area, so all of the Danish high voltage grid. But let's just load both of them, and we'll figure it out. Okay, so that's the filter here. And now seems like we might have some breaking tests. Wallaby is telling me down here. Let's see where that is. Oh, right. So now we have to pass it parameters. Just put in dummy dates for now. Good. Are there more? Yeah. Okay. Here. Okay. Now they're all passing again. Yes. So now I'm thinking that we're not really, seems like we're not really testing the query that gets sent, and that's becoming important now. We're rather we're testing what is returned or what is emitted from this client, but not what it's sending to the server. And well, we're checking the URL and that it's a GET method, but we're not checking the SQL query that gets sent. But yeah, like it's not really. Maybe we should split this out into a separate file so that it's easier to test, because it's just a text string, but we're going to have to remove the new lines, and then it will be a bit more difficult to test what's being sent there. Or, I mean, we could do it here, but it's more complicated to use the HTTP testing API to do this. Decisions. I will go for easier testability. CO2 forecast SQL create CO2 forecast SQL query. We're going to create a function that can generate this thing, this query. Create CO2 forecast SQL query, and it will take a date query. It will return a string. This string, actually. Yes. And then, rather than having it here, we will say create CO2 forecast SQL query, capacity query. Good. Now we have this file, this simple function, a pure function, which is more easily testable. So let's create a test suite for that. And we'll put it over here and expand the views like so. Now we'll do describe the name of this one. And it filters the date range. Yes, it's an important test. So date query. So now we'll have a proper date here. Let's go for, right now we're at the 22nd of May, and it is, yeah, well, we're past midnight, so we're at the 22nd in Denmark at least. And we're at daylight savings time. We'll have a 2, and it will be a, let's see. This represents the beginning of this day, the Saturday, and we'll be looking 2 days forward. But this represents, let's see, 24th, that would be Monday. But it's, as we can see here, yeah, so we want 2 days, like want to see the Saturday and Sunday, but this is Monday. It's because it's not an inclusive end range here. There's not an equal sign. So this is based on how the time series are set up here. So this will, if we go to, but not including the first time series of Monday, then we'll get what we want, the time series we want. Yeah. So SQL, right? CO2 forecast SQL query, date query, expect SQL to contain filters using a lower date range, lower limit, date range start. Yeah. Contain minutes 5 UTC bigger than or equal to, and then the string, and then date query, a string inside of the SQL string, and then the from, and the to ISO string. Yeah. And let's just, we can see now that it's passing. Let's just verify that it can break. We'll take the UTC string instead. Yeah, now we can see the output here. This is definitely not what we want. We want the ISO string. Let me just add a character here, and then we can see it. This is the output of that to ISO string on a JavaScript date object. So this should be good for most databases, including Postgres. Okay, filters. That's a date range start filter. Yeah. That's a date range and filter. And let's move it to the next one day into the future. So we have separate test data in the test. Now we'll say we want the records with minutes 5 UTC before the to filter. Okay. So now we have these two tests, and what's important? It's important that they are sorted. Sorts with oldest records first. Oldest, I mean first in this time series. Earliest. Records first. Yeah. Great. And then the date query, and in this case, we'll just pass it dummy dates. Doesn't matter. SQL to contain, and then order by ascending. Let's make sure that it can fail if the query is not correct. It can. And Wallaby is showing me why. So expected order by minutes 5 UTC descending, but we're getting all this back, which includes order by minutes 5 UTC ascending, which is what we actually want. So let's change the expectation or the assertion to what we actually want, and now it's passing. Great. Let me drink some water. Okay, what else is important here? The filter, the sort, the collection. This is the table name for this data set. So it, because we're always using the same endpoint. Where did we store that? The URL. Here it is. We're always using the same endpoint, and then a query string will be appended like so. But it's the same endpoint for the same endpoint URL for all data sets, and we might be adding more data sets at some point. So it's important that it's selecting from the right table or the right data set. It queries the CO2 emission prognosis data set. Table name, expected table name is CO2 emis prog for CO2 emission prognosis. SQL to contain from, and then the name, expected table name, like so. And let's make sure it can fail. It can, good. So now we have a passing test. So now we have tested the four most important aspects of this SQL query. And because we extracted it into a pure function, it was really easy to test. We're passing a parameter, we're checking the output of that function call. Excuse me, it's getting a bit hot here. It's at night, so there shouldn't be too much traffic. Let me open a window just to give me a second. I am back. Good. So what do we have here? Close all of this. Close all of this. Let me see what I've done. Add date query to, add date query to HTTP client. Well, date range filter to emission CO2 forecast query request. There's lots of things getting mixed together here. SQL, HTTP, stores, HTTP clients, request responses. Okay, let's have another look now at the HTTP client. Okay, so this one I will delete now. I've implemented that. Remove comments. Yeah. So what are we missing? Now we're missing to remove the new lines of this SQL query because what we get returned is it has some additional white space here, and it has new lines. We want to remove those just to make sure that doesn't break the query sent to the server, because I don't know how it would handle that in a query string parameter. Oh, there's also, like, since this is a query string, it needs to be, it's a query parameter, so it needs to be HTML encoded, but we're passing it here to the Angular HTTP client and passing it as a query string parameter. So I trust that Angular's HTTP client will take care of the URL encoding of this parameter. But we should strip the new lines here. So let's create a function for that. Strip SQL. From SQL parameter. Yeah. From SQL parameter. Again, I'm putting it in a function here so that it's a pure function, so it's easy to test. Part of a class. A SQL, which is string, returning a string. Now let's get those regex skills out. So we'll return the SQL, but we will replace something with just one. Just look like so. Yeah. Something here. Replacing that with a single space. So let's look at some. What would a query look like? Let's copy paste this, and I usually go for this tool, regex101.com. Now let's pass in this test string. This is an example of the query we might get. So let's see how we can remove those or match those additional spaces and the new lines. So new line is \n. Well, if it's Windows machine, it might also be \r/n. But I think this repo is set up for only using the Unix new line, which is \n. So now we're matching the new line, even though we can't see it here. But let's also match the following white space. Yeah, now we can see the first white space being matched here. But we want all of them. That's a plus. What if there was none? Let's use a star to make sure. That means 0 or more white space characters. And what if we had some trailing white space here? Also, now we're matching one of them. Now we're matching at least one, but now we're not matching the other lines, so we need a star here as well. Okay, so now we can match all these line breaks with space characters. So we can replace that with just a single space. So that would, the result of that would be So, and so on. This is the regex, the regular expression we need. Let's put that in here. And the G is for global or something. So that means it will match more than one occurrence. So it will, this is a replace all. There is a replace all function or method for strings coming to JavaScript, I think, because this has been a bit of a pain point for years that you have to use a regex or some looping mechanism to make multiple replacements in the same string. But yeah, this is what it looks like with the regex. But there will also come a method, I think it's called replace all, where you can just pass a string as the first argument. Good, so let's add a test for this one. At least one test. And we need the name of this nice little function. Trim SQL parameter. Yeah. It replaces new line with space character. So if we have so if we have raw SQL, and then get that. Did I still store this one? Yeah, use this one again. No, that's actually a good one for this test. Replaces white space after new line and following white space. New line follow by white space with a space character. Yeah. Actual SQL. Print SQL. Print SQL. Print SQL to be. Now let's remove this aliasing just to make it a bit shorter. And we can remove the filters as well, just to make it shorter. Let's do the manual replacing here. This is what it should do. One space, one space, one space. This is where it might be important to have that space rather than replacing it with empty string. It seems to be passing, but let's make sure. Let's add random character here. And now it's failing on that word. Good. Very good. This is the big test case here. Replaces new line with a space character. Let's take a simple test as well. Hello, world. Trim SQL parameter text. Print text to be hello world with a space. Not two spaces, one space. Okay. Good. Yeah, that's good enough for now. Let's see here. Wallaby says that we have 100% test coverage now. But again, 100% test coverage doesn't mean all cases are tested. Like this is a regex, so you want a more accurate or better indication of like how good are the tests. We should add something like mutation testing, like Striker.js, really great tool. That would actually modify this regex to make sure that we're covering more test cases if someone accidentally alters this regex or this one or whatever, so that our tests would catch that. But that's not for today. Okay, so now we have this trim SQL parameter. Let's use it here. Let's use it. Let's import it. Good. Good. So this is a class, and usually you would put logic like this in methods of a class. That's the class way of thinking. But yeah, I took them out of here just to make them easy to test, these two, outside of this class, because an HTTP client or a service wrapping an HTTP client is not very easy to test. There's a lot of extra setup with the HTTP controllers and test requests and whatnot. So now that I've tested these two, I feel confident using them inside of this method because they have been tested in isolation. Good. Good. Let's add a commit. Read trim SQL query string parameter. So now I think I'm good with our HTTP client, but now we have a lot of files here. So what could we do? We could group it, like say everything that's HTTP goes here. Is there more? This one. And everything that's state specifically goes here. And this one, they are also for HTTP. So they go in here. So we still have a lot of files inside of here, but at least now they're all related and they're separate from the store. And this date query is it's a shared interface. We might find uses for it other places in this application. Then we can lift it up into shared libraries. For now, we'll leave it here. Yeah. All renamed. Good. That's good for the Git history. Refactor. split into separate folders, push our work. So now I'm happy with the HTTP client that it will do what I want it to do. Now let's go back and look at the state. It's saying that, yeah, there's an Angular strict rule here. The strict injection parameters is not happy. So maybe this one doesn't have a provider. Okay. I broke some import paths. When I moved the files, that sucks. There's probably an extension for that. I mean, I used to have an extension for that, but I forgot the name. So, okay, I'll go through the files one by one. I'll say add all missing imports and check the paths look all right. They do. That was the CO2 forecast store. But what about, the individual ones should only refer to each other, and they shouldn't depend on state. But some of them could have this date query reference. So let's just go through the imports. This looks good. What is red here? Probably one of them missing, or having a broken import. This one, yeah. So let's move up the folder, the parent folder, yes. Same here. Same in this one. Okay. That looks good. What about the tests? Let's shut down Wallaby, start it again. Just been confused by some files changing. These changes will be amended. Okay, C2. Okay, the spec. Down here. This is where something is wrong then. Cannot find HTTP service. I see. So now we need to pass this query filter. Let's call it the date query instead. Query. I need to properly unpack it because we're actually getting two parameters here in an array. The first is the value of this observable. The second one is the value emitted by the timer, which will be a number. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So now I'm unpacking here using array destruction. Or what's it called? Array destructuring. There we go. Good. Test is still failing. Strange. Okay, so there was a compilation error, so it didn't show me the paths here that were broken. So it will be an HTTP. Just like this. Add missing imports. Good. Tests are passing. Okay. Yeah, also I'm in that And now I need to force push to my repo this branch. Okay, good. Whew, that was a bit of work, actually. All of that HTTP client work, and now the store. So now we're actually also go away, Angular compatibility compiler. Yeah, where's this one coming from? This is still this is still some dummy dates. So right now, this would be bad. This would be bad because it wouldn't return anything, the HTTP call, because of this. Yeah, so this is one thing we can change now. We can add a service providing these, or an updater maybe. But the other thing is we didn't test the timer of this effect. But it's way too late for that right now, so I'll deal with this one instead. So two options here. We can add an updater for this date query filter and put it in our internal state, which is this one. But we could also put it in a separate service. And we're definitely going to need we're going to need a date library of some kind. And I don't know if I'm up for that today. Yeah, I'm thinking, like, should I put it in the internal state? Yeah, that might be a good first step. I'm probably going to share that state in other places at some point, but let's do it here for now. So, date read only forecast date query and the initial state. Yeah, so we might be able to statically determine, or like when it's created, determine the current date. That would be a good start. That will probably be good enough for a lot of cases. So let's do that. Yeah. Start with the dummies here, the dummy dates. Now, rather than having it here, we can say this date query. Then we need to select that out and do that in a private observable. So that we're not exposing it to consumers of this service. State, the internal state, and the date query property. Good. And remember the finish notation. Very important, or observables will stop to work. No, they won't. Okay. So here we can see how we're actually connecting like the effect to an observable. Before we had an object here, but it's also possible to pass in, as we can see then by the name, observable or value. So before we had a a value, an object. Now we have an observable, and then that will be the observable that we are passed here. So we combine that with a timer that emits every minute and initially, so that either every time the date query changes, which it won't right now because it's only ever this initial value, and we still have to fix the dummy dates here. But say that changes, like if we go past midnight, it should change. But that's for another time. But say that changes, it will trigger this effect. Say the timer emits, it will every minute, it will trigger this effect. So an HTTP client request using the date query. And if we get a proper response back, we will store it in our internal state. And if we're getting an error, we will clear the records in the internal state. Yes. Okay, so one thing left to do here. These dummy dates. Okay, so let's see. Can I do this like without? How could I do it without a date library? Because I don't want to add that right now, and not today. Let's see. You know what? I'm opening up my. Oh, sir, that was not what I wanted to do. Opening up the trusty browser console. Let's see what we get from a new date here. Our date for now, and then to the to ISO string. And we have this, but it's in UTC time. I need the Danish time. Is there any way to get that? Probably not. UTC date yet. So UTC is still on the 21st. What is the Danish? The Danish is 22nd. Okay, good. So I will make an implementation that will let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good enough for now. It's good enough for now. It will have some bugs, but I'll introduce a date library later. Now, oh. Can I just do it here? No, I need to do it like turn this into a function. So create initial state. And we need a now, which is date, and we'll return the state. Okay, we'll call that in the constructor. Create initial state with a now. Has to be the first call. We have to pass it now here. Okay, now. Yes. Yes. So now we can try to manipulate it here. From is, let's see, it will be now, get full year, Wait. What could we do now? Set. Oh, this might actually be better. Today is new date of now. So we'll get a copy. And today, but local, it's local today. Set hours 0. Can we change? No. Set minutes 0. Set seconds 0. Set milliseconds 0. Okay. Local date of we're extracting it here so it makes sense what we're doing. So dates are mutable, and I don't want to mutate a date object that's passed to me, so I'll again make the copy. And do this operation on the copy, and then return the copy. Yeah. How will I do 2 days from now? Local day after tomorrow is, let's see, local date of now value. So we take the ticks of now and we add milliseconds in 2 days. That would be 2 days of 24 hours, 24 hours of 60 minutes, and 60 minutes with 60 seconds and 1,000 milliseconds per second. Today's ticks. Minutes. Yeah. Okay. Looks like this could work. Maybe, if I'm not way too tired. Yeah. Yeah. Looks like this is actually something I should extract into a function. A function that's easily testable. Create to forecast the query. Sure, we can use it for other forecasts at some point. But let's start with the narrowest scope. So let's start inside of this very folder, and we'll lift it up to other folders or other libraries as needed. We'll get it a now, which is a date, and it'll return a date query. Date query, kind of fun word. So it will have this local date of, which seems like a useful utility as long as I don't have a real date library. But hey, if everything you need is 9 lines of code, why bring in a library, right? But I'm sure I'm probably introducing a lot of bugs when doing date manipulation myself. So I'm going to need that date library at some point. Local date of. Why is it not happy? Oh, it's not returning it. Okay. Return from local today to local day after tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. But where is it getting this function from? How did it? There's no import statement. Something's broken. I must add this import statement. Oh well, front-end tooling. Oh, it's not exported. That's why. Yeah. So now it has no idea where it is. But before, when it wasn't exported, it was like, yeah, I can find that. I know where that is. Strange. Really strange. Okay. Nice function. I could probably test that. And we will. We will. But now, wait, CO2 forecast, date query, pass to now. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. And all the tests are passing again. Of course, we didn't add test for this logic, even though it seems like we still have 100% coverage. And this goes to show that 100% coverage is not covering all, like it's not covering all the different cases that we might test. You know, this is a code smell right here. Like having a new date right here, because I would be unable to test that except just actually has some, like you can patch the date constructor using a just utility, which I don't remember right now, but there is something. It was introduced in just 26 or 27. Let's see what we're using. At least that, I think. 26. Yeah, but yeah, it's way too late. I'm not worrying about that right now. But either you would use jest to like inject the new date, or you would create a date service that can give you the time right now, a date, so a new date, because then you can replace that date service inside of your tests. But yeah, I mean, it will create a new date as soon as this store is constructed. And when is it constructed? Well, that will depend on when it's provided or where it's provided. What's the scope of its provider, which then follows the life cycle of, say, a component. So yeah, that's good enough. Instead, I'll focus on trying to add a test for this one. Might also add a test for this one. Yeah. You know, if we add a test for this function, we're also implicitly testing this function, the local data of. So let's start with that. Where do we want to put it? Let's put it in a date util folder. Move it out here and update this import statement. That's not what I wanted to test. This is what I want to test. Local data is function under test. It sets the hours. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a bit tricky. This is a bit tricky because if I output the, there could be some difference between my local machine in Denmark and the CI server wherever on GitHub Actions. So I'm a bit worried about that, which you should always be when dealing with dates and times. Because it shouldn't be the app shouldn't be machine specific. It shouldn't be time zone aware like that. At least not so that the functionality fails in a different time zone. So what can I test? It clears the hours. I'll do a test per property we want to clear, because then it will be clear, which one of the parts is failing, if any one of them fails. Clears the hours. Okay, so now is the new date of 2, and it's 38 something. And it's Danish local. What am I doing? Danish local time, daylight savings time. So returning local 8 is the fake now. Get hours to be 0. Oh. 1? Nope. -1? Nope. 0 will make it pass. Good. We could just have. No. I want to reuse the fake now. I'll just add a minute here every time, every test. So it clears the minutes. At minutes 0. What about 1? No, that breaks it. Okay, good. And it clears the seconds. Now I shouldn't have 0 as seconds, or it would be defeating the purpose. So let's have 40 and then 15 seconds. Seconds. So it's not 15. Nope, it's 0. Good. What else is important? Oh, milliseconds as well. Okay, milliseconds. Looks like so. 3 milliseconds. Should that be 1, 2, 3? No, should be 0 after passing it through our function here. And it's getting late now. It's 20 minutes to 2. Long after dark, sure. So what else is important? Well, it's important that it is not modifying, it's not mutating the date object we're passing in. It does not mutate the past date time. Date instance. So fake now is matter, or does it? Yeah, it's in a proper one that so that we can reproduce the same result every time it's run. Okay, so right now it is 42. Local date is local date. Well, okay, let's not even store the result. Let's just see that, well, fake now ticks. Value off will give us the milliseconds since the midnight, January 1st, 1970, UTC, the Unix epoch. Okay. Expect fake now dot well, be fake now ticks. So if it's untouched, it should still be the same. Good. What if we didn't make a copy? Would this test fail? Yeah, it would. Exactly what we want. Exactly what we want. Good unit test. Good unit test. Oh, so now I did actually test this one separately. But how about, so now we know that that will not be a mistake if there's an error inside of here. But what about this function? Yeah, let's also do that. This is one of the nice things about splitting code into smaller parts. It becomes manageable to test them. There's not too much going on in each one. So we can start to reason about them. What does it do? It runs today at the start of today as from query or the query start. Oh, a passing test. I wonder why. Okay, so save our fake now is new date 21:05, 22:01:46. 2 hours UTC offset. Okay. Actual query is great CO2 forecast. Now expect actual query dot from to equal, and just as good at handling like comparing dates is in the value of their ticks. So it should be this. Good. And not 1 millisecond pass. No, exactly the beginning, the first second of the first second of the start of this day. Yeah, good. Well, the start of today is the date query start forecast. Beginning of the forecast. Using better naming, I think. I don't think too clearly right now. Hopefully it's good enough. Okay, the start of the day after tomorrow is the end of the forecast. Good. So let's just use 48 right now. And so 2 days, an additional 2 days, that's the 24th, the start of that day. So not from, but the to. Let's make sure it can fail. Good. The other one, make sure that can fail as well. Good. Oh, what do I do now? Oh, I forgot to reset it. Oh, it's the Danish daylight savings time zone. Good, 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 good. Yeah, now I'm, yeah. Does it run on CI? I don't know. And what's worse, NX Cloud will cache it if I run the test locally. I mean, Wallaby is running the test, but that doesn't count. It's not included in NX caching. But if I run NX test now, it will cache the local result. But if the CI server passes, that result will be cached. And when I try to run it locally, I'll get the cached result. There is a parameter to skip that, or like bust the cache. That's called --nx skip cache. So nx skip cache with dashes between and 2 dashes in front of it. And on top of that, just has its own cache. So lots of cache invalidation going on sometimes, or necessary sometimes. Okay, so this one is also tested. We tested what we're getting in both of these properties. Very good. So what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We are that forecast update query. Good. Good. Are we getting close? I think so. I think so. So now we see actually that this date query object is an internal piece of the internal state, but it's not something that's emitted through a public property, except that whatever comes out of this records observable will be records based on that query, because it goes through the HTTP client, passes that date query, and then comes back with the records matching that date query. We're putting them in the internal state and notifying the services and components interested in this forecast, the records. And the date query is now calculated here, in the initial state. And then we're passing it in through to our effect, our load records every minute effect. And we are passing it in from this property, the date query property, because then we can see all the parts of this store that are using the date query state internally. And if we didn't want that traceability, we could, well, let me copy it. We could inline it down here. So that will also work. See, the tests are still passing. But let's keep it this way. Then we can trace the different places inside of this store using this property, or subscribing to it at least. We can say, oh, that's used down here for this effect. Great. Yeah, okay, so I'm getting to the point that I'm happy now with this forecast. It does what we need for now. Can't really say if it would need more until we add a feature on top of it. And the only thing I'm not really happy about in regards to testing is we haven't tested this timer. Well, we might have tested the initial time and the initial trigger somewhere. We're going to see that. Somewhere here. Yeah, the initial timer emission is what kicks off this HTTP client call, which then updates the, see here that we have to return it something from the HTTP get method. Then it is the records are emitted or re-emitted through this records $observable property, skipping the initial emission, taking the first emission after that, so that we can use that to promise. Okay, so I'm missing a test here. So maybe I'll go here and add this to do. because not that I won't do it before merging, but now I want to set up the pull request just to make sure it runs the tests that I have passing locally are also passing in the CI server, the GitHub Action Runner, and just review the code changes. Oh, and one more thing. Let's export something. What did I think here? That's to do. Let's now export. And what do we need to export? Do we need the HTTP client? No, that's used by the store. So the store is actually the only thing we want to export right now. So let's do that. State store. Good. Expose the CO2 forecast store. So push that change. And now let's go create a PR. PR in a sec. This is the branch. Oh, in another episode, we merged a pull request for, what was it? I think we extracted some special root level libraries from the app project to turn it into a tiny app project. So I want this branch to be rebased on top of those changes. And we have a ton of merge conflicts. Oh, the joy of configuration. Compare the changes. Definitely want all of these new root projects. So now this is my project that I'm creating in this branch. And let's add the other ones here. Good. What is this? Oh, we'll keep the current change here. One down. This one, compare changes. Yeah, copy CO2 data access, then accept the current change. And to sort them alphabetically, it will be like so. One more conflict resolved. NxJSON. Compare. So I will take my project configuration from this branch. I will keep their changes here. The main branch changes and add this one. Yeah. Good. Last one, hopefully. Here we can say accept both changes and just sort it. So let me open up again the workspace JSON and see if the projects are sorted here. Enter the Insights app. should be after CO2 data access. I usually add a small script for sorting these so that I can run that as part of the yarn or the format script. We'll do that another day. Right now I'm doing it manually. So git rebase, continue. Didn't I? Wait. Must edit all merge config and then mark them as resolved using git add. But that's what I did. Oh, here. Okay, rebased. Force push. Let's see if we can still build. Seems that Wallaby is still running. Good. Oh no, here we go. Buckle up, Angular compatibility compiler. Good thing I didn't add Angular material. It has a lot of sub packages that need to go through the Angular compatibility compiler, and it's waste of time. Build. Okay, build work. So now let's go and look into adding that pull request. Add C2 data access. Well, forecast store. Add C2. It's called the emission prognosis HTTP client. Create. Well, this should still be a draft because I want to make sure to add that test. Remaining test. Oh, lots of commits here. Checks are being run. Let's look at them. Build lint test running in parallel. Good. And I'm worried about the test, but there could be some lint errors as well. Tests are good. Lint built. Everything's good. Great. Great. That's nice. Okay. So just missing that final test of triggering that HTTP request every minute. And I left a to-do for that. So hopefully I will remember. Could also add a comment. Add test marked to do. Note to self. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So soon we will be able, at least now we have the data access layer, hopefully ready to query for data like this. Let's refresh this page. Oh, a clean green morning in Denmark. Nice. Well below 80 grams per kilowatt hour of electricity produced. And this last hour seems like there has been quite a bit of wind. 72% wind and solar power, and I can tell you it's not solar power. So those green data centers are 72% green right now. But that's not 100%. I'm just saying. Okay. Well, that was a good session, even though I'm very tired by now. It's 2 a.m. Danish time, so I'll be going to bed. So I hope you learned something, anything that would make me happy. Let me know, and I'll see you some other time. Bye for now.